Hello, Medfield. Thanks for watching Medfield TV. My guest once again is Mike Sullivan, who I think you all know is the town administrator. And Mike is going to give us the rundown of what's happening in Town Hall and throughout the town of Medfield in this current month, in the middle of April and town meeting is coming soon. So what's up, Mike?
And hopefully spring is coming soon.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure lately.
I'm not sure either.
Yeah, it's a crazy time around here. We're trying to get the warrant report out. We're trying to get the town report out, and everything keeps changing. The school committee and the warrant committee and the met with the Board of Selectmen last night. First time I can remember all three of them met outside of town meeting. So they were trying to resolve an issue over the school budget. There's different recommendations on what the town meeting should appropriate. The warrant committee is recommending a 4% increase in the school budget. The school committee has voted to recommend a 6.16% increase.
6.16.
Yes. And the superintendent at one point recommended the school committee 4.86, which they didn't like, so they increased it from the 4.86 to 6.16. And as I understand it, the original budget submitted by the department heads was 5.75. So there's 4 different versions of the school budget, and we're trying to figure out which one.
Which one will vote on?
Yes, and 3 of them will require overrides, all 3, different amounts.
What kind of money are we talking?
Well, for and when you combine it with the other budget, the problem is we've only got about 2.3% increase in the revenues this year. State aid is only at 1.3%. The new growth and the 2.5% is up about 2.79%. So, but the budgets are up 9.1%. In part because the health insurance budgets are up 9.1%. The pensions are up about over 9%. Unemployment insurance is up about 67%. No, and when you add those, plus then you throw in the school budget up anywhere from 4% to 6.16%, it creates a necessity for an override. Now, the last operating override we had was in 2012. People get confused because we've had debt exclusion overrides for the buildings, for the town garage and for the public safety, the 2 ones recently. Before that, we had them for the school buildings, the senior center, and several other land purchases, sewer projects. But the operating overrides, where they become a permanent part of the tax base, the last one was 2012. So we're at a point now where looks like we're going to be offering alternative options to the town meeting, and they're going to have to decide which they want to go with.
That's going to be
the 2 options, it looks like, are going to be the 4% for the school budget or the 6.16% for the school budget. And as I mentioned, the warrant committee is recommending the 4%. The school committee is recommending 6.16%. The way we're handling it, we're going to have a balanced budget that will be voted on that will not require any override. And then we'll have 2 options. The option with the 4% school budget increase and the option with the 6.16% increase. And we will have information as to how much of an override would be required for each one. I believe the 4% is about 475,000 override. The 6.16 would be about
about $1 million.
1.2 million override. On top of that, the Park and Rec Commission is looking for $150,000 to begin plans for a new Park and Rec building.
No.
And the ALS committee is looking for $250,000 for to hire 4 new firefighter ALS personnel. And those will probably both be overrides. There was some question, we're still in flux on that, whether Park and Rec could take it out of their revolving accounts or whether they need an override for that. But ALS will definitely be an override, so that'll be a separate override. And then there's $1 million item in there for a feasibility study for the Dale Street School. They've been approved to go ahead with a feasibility study by the Mass School School Building Assistance Authority. And they need $1 million for that. And there's two options on that. One would be a debt exclusion override for $1 million payable over 5 years with a borrowing. And the other, which I think is a good way to go, would be to do an operating override, set up a municipal building stabilization fund, which would appropriate the entire $1 million in one lump sum, and then would increase the levy by that amount in future years. And that money could only be used to repair and maintain municipal buildings. You'll recall we required a facilities manager last year, Jerry McCarty, who put together a 20-year capital plan to repair the buildings. And some of the buildings have been let go over the years, are in pretty rough shape, particularly the school buildings, which unfortunately was encouraged by the state to let your school buildings fall
Remember
apart.
we took a tour there about 15 years ago?
Yes.
It was appalled.
Yeah. So I think we need to maintain our buildings, or it's going to cost us more. It's cheaper to maintain them than to rebuild them. But it's going to be a difficult decisions that the town meeting has got to make. You got the $1 million override if they go with the stabilization fund, or in the alternate, it's a $1 million debt exclusion override, which would be probably around $325,000. Then there's the operating override to fund either the 4 or 6% school budget, and that would be somewhere in the order of $500,000 to $1.2 million.
Jeepers creepers.
And then there's the ALS override, which is $250,000, and depending on what happens with the Park and Rec, $150,000, whether it passes, and if it passes, is it going to be funded from the revolving fund,
And the senior center?
or an override. The Senior Center, the Warrant Committee is recommending no action on it. There's already enough increases in the budget next year
Scary.
because of that. So it is scary, and the state is not kicking in much money. Their state aid right now under the governor's budget is up 1.3% over last year, which is, we are now paying a higher percentage of our budgets through the property tax than before Proposition 2.5 passed. So Proposition 2.5 was a farce as far as the town of Medfield was concerned. Cities made out like bandits, and they have control of the legislature, and they get all the money. Especially annoying cities like Boston and Cambridge and Somerville that are awash in money. They have tons of money.
If you remember, I was chairman of the Warrant Committee the first 3 years of Proposition 2.5.
Yes,
And
yeah.
we worked like dogs.
Those were tough
Several meetings a week. Oh, it was horrible.
Those were tough times.
They were tough times.
So, the ideal thing would be to increase our revenues, but the state tells us we can only sell so much water. The state tells us we can't raise taxes on our own. We have to have their permission, but then they won't give you permission. The state, we don't have the attractive development opportunities that, say, a Westwood has, or a Burlington has, or a Boston has. I understand Westwood gets about $5 million from the Westwood Station project. That would really help us out, but we can't get it because we're not on a 128
Right.
or a
Right.
95 or Route 1. So we have to rely on ourselves and on our own resources, and it's 94% residential. residential property doesn't really pay for itself.
Yeah, it doesn't, that's
When
true.
you add in the expenses of schools and public safety and library services and all the other services, public works, police and fire, ambulance, it's a problem. And that's why we're in a structural we have a structural deficit problem, because our expenses are rising much faster than our revenues. So it's very discouraging. I hope the town understands that this is a problem that we all face, and everybody needs to make sacrifices, both in terms of increasing their taxes and cutting some of the programs. You can't have everything, you know, we can't, I always say it's like the kid in the candy store. You take a kid in the candy store and they want everything.
Yeah.
But if they have everything, they'll get sick. Well, we're sort of in the same boat. We can't have all the programs and services that we want, because we'll get fiscally sick. So we have to make decisions, and we have to decide what's a want and what's a need.
What they can do without.
Yes, yeah. So, you know, we do have, fortunately, our debt is coming down. Unfortunately, as the debt goes down, other new projects, we're facing water and sewer water projects, particularly painting the Mount Nebo Water Tower, 1.1 million. Where we have to build a new iron manganese treatment facility to remove iron and manganese from the wells behind the Wheelock School. That's probably, we don't know the cost of that yet, but we need about 800,000 to study it and design a facility to do it and get it out to bid. So it's
Do you have any good news at all for the town?
yes, it's spring.
Okay.
It's spring. The days are getting
No, not yet.
the days are getting longer. I think there are probably some, if you give me a while to think about it, but right now I'm in the middle of budget season, and you know the doom and gloom stuff.
I do.
So,
It's a very tough year. It really is a tough year.
it really is, yeah. The health insurance is not so much the rate increase. The rates only went up about 3.95%. Problem is, we've had an awful lot of employees sign up for the plan. I think we had 22 new people come on this year. And we're trying to, in fact, after this, I have to go downstairs to a meeting the Insurance Advisory Committee, because they're trying to come up with a high deductible plan that will save the employees and the town's money over the current plans. But we won't know till after town meeting how many people sign up for that,
That's true too.
and whether they're new enrollees or whether they're switching from one plan to another. And that makes it difficult. And the pension, the legislature, as usual, gave away the ship, giving money to the public employees, early retirements for this group, early retirement groups for that group. They all fled out the door, and now we're paying the price for it.
Sure.
And, you know, those legislators are gone, and you get a new batch in, and they don't realize how much trouble the state is
And
in.
what's they left behind?
You know, everybody thinks Massachusetts is in great shape. The bond ratings for the state went down for the first time in decades, past couple of months ago. And it's because we're borrowing so much money. We're not funding our long-term obligations. And, you know, Medfield at least is trying to fund the unfunded retiree healthcare expenses and the unfunded
That goes
pension.
back a long way. I remember that.
It goes a long way, but as hard as you try, they grow faster because of all these perks that the legislature's thrown away. You know, I listened to this talk about the MBTA, how we're gonna fix it. You will never fix the MBTA until you do something to get control of the personnel system in there, because it's a gigantic giveaway. People retiring in their 40s and 50s, they have more retirees than employees. And this goes on and on. You got the Turnpike Authority, well, that's been merged into some transportation authority. You got the Port Authority. I think there's about 100 authorities at the state level. And they're all controlled by the legislature and the special interest groups on Beacon Hill, the lobbyists. So, in Medfield, they say, oh, you're a rich community, you can afford whatever you want, pay your own way. but send us money to pay for the cities that can't pay their own way, but are getting all the money, so it's discouraging, maybe because I'm in the middle of budget season, and I'm trying to balance the budget, and it's tough, so.
I never heard you so down about all this.
Oh, well, maybe next month I'll be in better shape.
I hope so.
I'll find a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow or something, so. But it's gonna be a tough town meeting, and, you know, everybody seems, we have proposals for, in addition to the senior center, for a new park and rec building, for a new Dale Street school replacement, painting the Mount Nebo water tower, a facility to remove iron manganese. And then you've got the ALS program that's gonna be at least 4 new employees. The school, I understand, with their 6.16% increase has about 4 new employees. And, you know, you just can't do it on a 2% revenue increase.
Absolutely.
It's not, it doesn't cut it. So I don't know where, so if the taxpayer's gonna be willing to foot the bill. Some will, because some think, you know, that it's worth it, and to a certain extent it is, but you can't afford everything. That's why I say the town has to make choices. And I hope the choices will be for the needs and not for the wants.
What do you think the odds are of a one-night town meeting? Okay.
Next question.
Zilch.
You never know. We have a couple of weeks. Maybe everyone will get together and work it all out, but it's gonna be a tough one.
Because I can remember when we first came here, we had multiple nights.
Yes, yeah. I would urge people to go to a town meeting, because if they don't, then don't complain, because you know these things are coming up. You know that there's a lot of decisions that are gonna be made. If you're not there to make them, somebody else is gonna make them for you. So when you get a tax bill, if it's got a big boost in it and you weren't at town meeting, you know, take your lumps and pay the bill.
And it'll still be at the junior high, middle school?
It'll be at the high school,
I'll be at the high school, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, the old junior high.
old junior high, right, yes.
That's right.
We got in trouble one year because we didn't include in the warrant the address of the high school. And they said the warrant, it wasn't effective because it wasn't good enough to say Medfield High School. You had to give 88R South Street as the address for it. So I think we had to get special legislation passed through to make the town meeting action effective, so. But we do have a lot of other things going on. I understand the Garden Club is having a guest speaker. They're doing a joint show with, I think, Dedham. They're having a guy from the Garden in the Woods over in Framingham speak. We have the Zulu Gallery is having a fundraiser over there. And about, I think, May 5th, I think it is. The Lions Club, you're gonna be out collecting money on the roads.
Yeah. I'm a member of
Their
the Lions Club.
annual drive, yes, yeah. And, you know, a lot of things are still positive, and hopefully we'll get through this and figure out a way to pay for these things, but.
How nasty has it gotten?
It has got nasty. I think everybody understands the problems, and, you know, understands why there are the problems. It's how you come up with an agreement on how to solve the problems.
Yeah.
Some people feel that you should cut the budgets, and it's gonna be in the warrant committee room downstairs. Some people, sorry, that was another meeting. I was giving directions.
Oh, we gotta figure that out.
Part of my job description. The other people feel that it's okay to raise taxes, so, and that's why we have town meetings, to decide who gets to make those choices. And the people who come to town meeting obviously get to make the choices, and the people who don't come get to pay the bills, so, as well as the people who come to town meeting. But
It's gonna be very interesting, though.
it is.
It really will be.
Yes, yeah. we've had a very good warrant committee this year. They put in a lot of time. The school committee has obviously done a good job given the ratings of our school system. The selectmen have been trying to come up with long-term solutions. I give credit to the selectmen. They are trying to look down the road instead of focusing on 1 year. They're trying
Absolutely. You have to look down the road.
You have to, yeah, especially this day and age where there's so many irresponsible layers of government who aren't looking down the road beyond their terms of service. And I guess they figure they'll be out of office when the bills come due. If you look at Washington, my goodness, they go up $25-35 billion a month in debt. It's disgrace what's going on down there, and nobody seems to care. And it's not one party, it's both parties. It's the whole rotten system down there.
The federal debt scares me to death. And I would hate
Yes.
to see our town get to that same position where we have
Yes.
own more than we can.
Well, unfortunately, the whole country's gonna be dragged into it because we're all part of the country,
I
and the
know.
bills are being paid for everybody. And at least we're trying to do something, but if you look at the unfunded liabilities for the cities and towns in Massachusetts, they are, in the state, they are enormous, enormous. And a lot of it is because of the giveaways from the legislature and the special interest in there that are pushing for these giveaways. There is no reason anybody should be retiring in the public sector any earlier than the private sector. And if the retirement age for Social Security is 66, then the retirement age for public employees should be 66, not
Everybody.
46.
But everybody, pensions, everything.
Yes,
I don't like the people that can qualify for pensions at 52 or
yes,
whatever. I
and
don't
then go
think
out and
it's
get another
appropriate.
job and get another pension.
Absolutely.
And that's a great reason why the state can't come up with the money to fund schools. Education, the courts have determined that education is a state responsibility. Unfortunately, the court said, okay, give all the money to the cities because they need it more than the towns. So we get the short end of the stick, as usual, and we have to end up paying the high taxes, and they get away not scot-free, but they get subsidized for everything in there. I'm in a very good mood today, huh? You caught me.
I'll be interested in how you feel after town meeting. That'll be an interesting discussion.
Yes, yeah, well, I am afraid that, we've been able to hang on and address a lot of the big issues. As I said, our debt is going down. We are trying to address our pension funding and health insurance funding liabilities. So we are doing some positive things. And we have addressed many of our capital needs. We're addressing the water and sewer needs. We've done rebuilt schools. We've rebuilt the public safety building, the senior center, the town garage. And we are trying to keep up with it, but it gets harder and harder as the demands, and that's the other thing, we're getting demands. We've been told the West Street Bridge is not a state bridge, it's a town bridge, so that Millis and Medfield is
Oh, that's
supposed to
right.
pay to repair the bridge.
That's right, I forgot that.
I said, shut it down. See how the traffic backs up on 109, and the state will be out here, they'll have the TV cameras out, and they'll suddenly decide maybe it's a good
Maybe
idea
it's
to
a state
fix
bridge
it.
after all.
Yes, yeah. We've been told that the dam at the Richardson's Pond, or Ritchie's Pond, or Danielson's Pond is got to be repaired.
Oh, I didn't know that.
We're just fixing up the bridge. We did get some state funds for that, but not enough. The bridge at Phillip Street, the wooden bridge, that should be done. That's good
Yeah,
news, I guess.
It's been a long time out.
Yes, that should be, well, that's because we took state money and you have to do it on their timetable. But that should be done probably, hopefully by the summer. That'll be open again, so that'll be a good thing. And we have been talking to the state about getting some assistance on the West Street and the 109 bridge. 109 also
Okay,
needs
yeah.
some repairs. So, and they've admitted the 109 bridge is theirs. I don't know why they take a different position on the West Street bridge, but
Because that's a heavily used one, there's no
yes,
question
it
about it.
is, yeah. And we were hoping to try to do something with the 27 West Street intersection. That really needs some attention. There's a
Still
lot of
having troubles?
accidents down there. But that's over $1 million, and, you know, how do you come up with, we get 385,000 or something from Chapter 70 money from the state every year. And that's, it doesn't begin to cover the road needs, so. You know, the legislature won't raise the gas tax. It hasn't been raised in years, and I know people don't like the idea of it. But when the oil companies raise the gas prices 50 cents, and they say, well, what can you do about it? But raise the gas tax 2 cents, and everybody's up in arms. Well, how do you pay to fix the roads? How do you raise the bridges? You know, where does it end? This we can't raise taxes thing is getting a little bit out of control. If you won't cut spending, and the federal government and the state government won't cut spending, then how do you control? How do you not raise taxes?
Do we have many retirements coming up?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I'm not sure, because the school is obviously the big group, and I'm
They're the
not
big
sure how
employer,
many
right?
retire in the schools. Yeah, we've had several. Of course, you know, the fire chief retired. Selectmen are going to be interviewing for finalists tomorrow night for the
Oh, really?
fire chief. So,
I have a memo meeting, otherwise I would come and listen to that.
and listen, yeah. So I think the committee's only recommending one candidate.
I heard about the new fire chief in Sherburne, who lives here in Medfield.
Yes, he does.
Yeah,
Yes,
I heard that.
I don't know whether he applied or not. I wasn't on that particular committee, but.
Now, the rumor I heard was the reason he moved to Medfield was because his daughter is tall and a very good basketball player, and he wanted the best basketball team in the area, Sherburne area. Now, this is a rumor, that's why he's in to Medfield, because Medfield has the best girls' basketball team.
It may
Thought
be,
there are a lot of reasons to buy a house in one town or another, but that was a different one for me.
Yeah, I've never met him, so I really don't know. It seems like a good reason. I know when I worked in Arlington decades ago, people used to move to the town so their kids could play hockey under a guy by the name of Ed Burns, who was the hockey coach in Arlington at the time. And so people do that, and whether that's the case with this, I don't know.
But he used to be a football player for Tennessee Titans, so you don't want to mess with him.
That's right, yes. And I probably couldn't outrun him either, so
I don't think so.
not at my advanced age.
So the selectmen have narrowed it down, then, that's good.
Well, no, the committee's narrowed
No,
down.
no,
This
okay.
is the selectmen will be interviewing the candidate tomorrow night to see if he's what they're looking for, so.
Because I was on the board when we appointed the two current fire and police chief.
Yes, yeah. And I will say, the temporary chief we'd had has done an excellent job.
Everybody
He's
gives
really been
raves
good.
to him. They said
Yes.
he's absolutely fantastic.
Yes, yeah. I think it was a very pleasant surprise when he really likes the town.
I
He's
know.
very interested in the town. He spent much more time here than he needs to have done. But because he's retired, he can only work so many days or lose his pension, so we have to do something.
Yeah.
And long term, it's the best thing to do. You want a permanent solution, so. But are we losing any department? It was funny, I wrote a note to Jane Archer recently and telling her about some of the things going on.
That's
And
nice.
we've had 4 librarians since she left.
Jeepers.
So, and she
Made
was
some good
here, it
ones,
seems
too.
like she was here forever.
Yeah.
Yes, we've
She
had
was an
very
old
good
friend.
ones.
Our daughters were friendly, our sons.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Children were.
yeah.
That's how I first met her.
So, and, we've been very lucky. We've had good new librarians. Public Works Director's working out very well. He's doing an excellent job. Jerry McCarty, the facilities manager's doing an excellent job.
How about the new veterans officer? Does that work out with splitting it with Walpole?
He's doing great. He just had to have surgery on his foot, but he's back now and he's doing a good job. He was in my office yesterday and really is stepping up to the job.
You're making a pun there when he just had foot surgery? He's stepping
Yeah,
up?
but yes, I realized it after I said it. It wasn't intended for,
are already groaning.
sometimes I make puns accidentally, but.
That's when you make them so
yes,
often.
Yes, yeah. but he's also the veterans officer in Walpole, so he's going to be here 2 days a week, and he'll be available by phone, or if he's been already spoken to the Council on Age at the center at Medfield. He's been down there, spoken to the seniors. I think he was supposed to speak to the Lions Club, but I don't know whether he's been able to do that yet or not.
We had a police officer down there, Shelley Manganello.
Oh, yes, yeah, she's
she
good.
did an unbelievable job.
Yes,
I was
she
amazed.
does. Yeah, she's very good, yeah.
And she looked out at the Lions at the meeting and said, and Ann Thompson was one of those that appointed me. I felt good, because she did a really good job.
And you appointed her father, too, I think.
know.
Her father's the Tri-County Vocational School member for Medfield, so he does an excellent job also, so. We're lucky in the caliber of volunteers we have. I think it's been great. But it's going to be an interesting year, I think. I think we will be having some retirees, some major departments, and
Because I know another policeman that's going to retire.
police chief has been talking about retiring. I've been talking about
No, but
retiring.
another policeman is
Oh,
talking about
policeman.
retiring.
Yes, yeah.
It
So,
happens.
so we'll see. But we've been lucky. I think Chris has done a good job in the personnel board
think she has too.
attracting new people, of finding good quality people to come. We lost our building inspector, who did an excellent job too. He was hired away by Rentham. So
For more money?
more money, yes, that's usually the case. So, Medfield's been very lucky in that we've generally kept people for very long periods of time. And Ken Feeney was here 38, 39 years. You know, people like Bill Mann, Joe Ryan were here
had some gems there.
dedicated to life, Bill Kingsbury, Eddie Hinckley. They have certainly proved their worth, and the town's been very lucky to have them. And sometimes it's good to have some turnover, so, you know, even though the library directors have turned over quite a bit, they've brought some new ideas to the system, and I think overall have really improved the quality of the library operations. In a time of vast change, as you know, you're one of their big supporters. And libraries, because of the electronic age, have really had to, change around considerably. As somebody said, there aren't many books in the library anymore. So, you have 3D models and
Kindles, that everybody has Kindles.
yes, cable. You have audio books. You have combos, jazz combos playing over there.
Yep.
It's really a different, totally different library than it was 20 years ago, and they have managed to change with the times. So.
But I felt good. I got a video the other day from my grandson in Georgia, who's father of my great-grandson. And Aiden is 4, and he was sitting on my grandson's lap and reading. He picked up almost all the words, and then periodically he'd stumble, and Kyle would give him a word, and then he'd keep right on going. I was so impressed. I thought,
Yes.
so good, so glad to see the kids are still going to be reading. I hope so.
I saw a thing recently, and they said girls and boys tend to be about equal on math and science, the STEM technologies, where the girls lately have been pulling ahead as they read more.
I love
Boys
to read.
read less. So I guess the boys play with video games and the girls read books. So
And the boys play with baseball bats and hockey sticks.
take those cell phones away once in a while and make your kids read. So it's good for them.
But I hope reading is always here, and I hope they're always going to be libraries. I hope so.
I think you will, yeah. Although I don't know, they say pretty soon you won't even have to type into your cell phone or
Talk into it?
or tablet, I guess. Computers are passé, but you'll just be able to talk to it, and it'll be able to
Great.
follow your instructions. So
Then I'll get one. If I don't have to type into it, I will get one
yes,
fast.
yeah, that's right. That would be a big help to you.
No, because I
particularly,
can't see to do it.
Yeah. Oh.
I'm legally blind for those at home, which is why I stopped running for selectman 5 years ago.
But I know you can talk.
I still can talk. I still can talk. I can't read, but I can talk, and I can listen to books.
Yeah.
And listening to the books is, without the Perkins School, I think I'd go nuts without all the books they send me.
They have it,
And the
yeah.
tapes.
Oh,
They're wonderful.
Can you do that through the interlibrary loan, the Minuteman system, or do you do that
No,
separately?
they're directly from
that?
Perkins.
They do, okay, yeah,
Get audio from the library here too as well.
yeah, yeah,
But Perkins does a lot, sends me a lot, they're marvels.
yeah, yeah. And I noticed you're still knitting for the scarves for Medfield Day?
I'm getting ready for Medfield Day. I have about 200 or almost 200 finished now, so I have to
Really?
get ready,
Wow.
make sure I have enough.
My goodness, that's amazing, so, what's it take you, about a few hours to do a
It
scarf?
depends on which pattern I'm doing.
Oh, okay.
You never know. But it's a
Well,
good project.
I don't know if anybody will want to watch the show and hear my doom and gloom speech, which is a little bit worse than usual. They probably maybe ought to take this tape and
Burn it.
burn it or something, recycle it. No, we don't burn things anymore. Oh, that's another thing too, because of China, they are, the single stream recycling program is in great difficulty now because China is rejecting loads because they're contaminated. And one of the reasons they're contaminated because of the fiber, paper.
Oh, okay.
People don't think of fiber as being paper, but your paper is basically fiber. And when you mix it in with glass and tin cans and
Yeah, contaminates?
it's get wet and it gets contaminated and they won't take it, so.
I never knew that.
Well, I didn't either until a few months ago, but, so, the price is skyrocketing. In fact, and I talked to the guy from Harvey, and some of the prices they're charging some of their customers are higher than we're paying at the Millbury incinerator to throw our trash away.
Oh, my God.
So there may be very little incentive to recycle pretty soon because the prices are higher to recycle than to incinerate. I hope that reverses itself. I hope there's some solution. It may involve going back to some sort of separation.
Yeah.
You know, we may have to separate the papers and cardboard from the rest. They tell me glass has no value at all.
I'm still separating it, though.
And I do too, but
Yeah.
I guess with the advent of the plastic water bottle, nobody is using glass much anymore. So it has very little value. And the paper gets wet and gets contaminated, so those loads are being rejected. So they're gonna have to find some new solution, and it's gonna take a while. In the meantime, the costs are gonna go up. And that's again what people don't realize, that because of the problems that crop up like that, your budgets will take unusually high jumps.
Yeah.
It's like somebody in the school committee was saying that if you have a kid moves into town to special ed, it can cost you $200,000 for one child. So, and you have no say in that.
That I'm willing to pay,
Yeah.
because I'm so lucky I didn't need it.
Yes, yeah.
I have no problem with that at
I think we
all.
all like to see it as long as it isn't abused. You know, I think some of these private facilities, I remember there was one school that had llamas, pet zoo or something, and for llamas, and they were really milking the system, so. But I think, I remember when special ed passed, we were told as local officials, don't worry about state and federal government are gonna pay for
Yeah, I remember
everything.
that.
And now all they do is mandate. They tell you what you're gonna pay as a taxpayer. And I think it's over a quarter of the budget now is for special ed. But it isn't broken out in the budget, so people don't realize
Trying
that.
to tell you, sure.
And that's pushing up the costs. You know, and they tell me that now that the economy seems to have picked up a bit, the school enrollment is finally starting to go up. So,
Do you know what the
still-
number is today?
You know, I don't, because it depends on who you talk to, whether you count kindergarten and pre-kindergarten kids, or whether you count
wouldn't count
kindergarten
pre.
kids as half-day or full-time student or half student, so I really can't tell you. I can tell you, I think, people were worried about the park down on West Street, adding a lot to the school population, but it didn't really do that. It was very few students came out of there. I think it was only less than 20 students
Fewer than 20,
in the
okay.
schools. So sometimes the fears are unfounded.
Yeah, well, it was something everybody was concerned about.
Yes, yeah. You're much more likely to get them out of a 5-bedroom house in a fancy neighborhood where they're more likely to have 2 or 3 kids in the school system, so.
I hope we can still continue to have a mix of ages in our town. I don't want
I
it
do
to be
too,
all old
yes.
people, all young people, all middle-aged people. I'd like to, still like the mix.
The big problem, as I see it, is the way we pay for fund education. It is so unfair. It impacts communities differently, and it actually encourages some communities to have bad school systems, so they won't attract people with kids. And the communities that try to do the right thing, like we do, to have good school systems, get punished because they don't get a fair share of state aid. We're down, I think, to about 15% of our budget is state aid. And, when 2.5 passed, it's gonna lower the property taxes. So who were they kidding, I argued against it because I knew exactly what was gonna happen, but you tell people you're gonna cut their taxes and they think you're evil if you're against it.
Yeah,
But they need to know, is it really gonna cut your taxes, or is it gonna just shift the burden around? And usually when the burdens get shifted, it comes here to the Medfields of the world, and the money goes into the Boston, Cambridges of the world, so.
I just hope 50 years from now, when somebody mentions Mike Sullivan's name or Ann Thompson's name, they say they did a good job and the town is better. I'd hate it if they say the town is worse because we were there.
I hope the town is better 50 years from now, but I don't care whether they say I've done a better job.
You're not gonna be here?
I'm not gonna be here, and I couldn't care less.
Well, I've got children and great-grandchildren
Yes,
here, so.
yes. I always say 2 years after I leave, they'll say, what was that guy's name that used to work here? And that's fine, I don't.
No, I just hope we did the right thing. We're trying to do the right thing. And we
Some-
won't know for sure until 50 years from now, when
What
they
do
look back.
I always say 9 out of 10 decisions you make are gonna be wrong. But if you don't make any decisions, you're guaranteed 100%
Yeah,
will be
that's
wrong,
for
so.
sure. I haven't heard you say that before.
So at least you have a small chance of being right when you make decisions, but, many of the decisions we've made over the years that I've made, I say probably weren't the right decisions, and luckily, they turned out to be okay.
Yeah, I don't regret many that I made as 30 years as a selectman. I don't regret many, a few. A few.
Yeah. Well, as you say, probably we won't know till 50 years, and
I know.
we won't care.
I'll look back and say, well, my grandchildren will care, my great-grandchildren will care, if they're
Yes.
still here.
Yes, you still have some living here. You're fortunate in that
Yeah,
regard.
I am.
So
But I just want the town to be proud of what we have all done, all of us.
I want the town to be still in good financial shape and attractive place to live and have a nice quality of life and good schools and, as you say, a diversity of population in terms of age and ethnicity and whatnot, so.
Because I know most of the people I have served with over the years have been people that really did want to do the right thing.
Yes.
And I
yes,
hope they always do.
Yes,
Just have their minds on the future, what's going to be good for not just today, but for tomorrow and the next day.
yeah.
And just look ahead a little bit. But I
And-
think almost every town official I know, I think is looking that way.
Yeah, and we're
I hope
very
so.
lucky in that regard. Some communities are not that way at all.
Yeah.
It's what's in it for me. And I think that's part of the problem with a lot of these authorities at the state level. Now, there are many good, fine employees in those authorities, but there are the political hacks who get there because they have connections at the State House, and they ruin it for the good employees. So, and I don't know how you address that problem because the legislature doesn't seem to want to address it there. They run and hide when tough decisions come up along those lines. So, and I'll tell you one thing right now. I think they ought to rescind every single early retirement incentive that they have
I'm
on
with
the
you there.
books. And I think it's an insult to the taxpayer who's on Social Security benefits to fund early retirements of people in their 40s and 50s. So I could say that because I'm in my 70s now and I'm still working.
I worked full-time till I was 75.
So, yes,
I
that's
did.
right, yes, yeah.
And my father did too. He's a dentist. He slowed down his practice a little bit, but he was still there in the dental office.
Yeah. And many of the people who retire early are still working too, but they're working on another job and working on another pension, so,
Yeah.
so it's not fair.
But anyway, we'll have to wait and see what happens. The
Yes.
last Monday of the month,
That's
see what
right.
happens. I'm very, very curious myself.
And as I said, if you're not there being part of the decision-making process, so be it. Other people will make the decisions for you. And when you get your tax bill or when your program gets scaled back and you weren't there to defend it, so be it. So,
It's your fault.
that's a bad note to end on, but I guess time is probably just pretty much up.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Mike, for being with us once
Are
again.
you sure you want to thank me for this?
Well, maybe your news will be better when we talk again in a month.
Hopefully
Wait and see.
will be, yes, yeah.
But you people at home, hope you don't get turned off by this, and I hope you come to town meeting, because if you don't come, Mike's right, you're part of the problem if you don't come. You want to be part of the solution. So thank you for watching Medfield TV, and we really appreciate it, and we appreciate the people doing our work here for us. And we'll see you all at town meeting and walking around town, I hope.
And that's April 30th at 7:30 PM at the high school gymnasium, so.
So thanks for watching.
Medfield TV, community shows.